Hey guys, it's Morgan, and today we're going to cover shortcut keys in Adobe Premiere. We're going to start by going to Edit, then going down here to Keyboard Shortcuts. It's going to bring up this basically layout of the keyboard. Now these are all my hotkeys or shortcut keys that really speed up my editing process. This is going to be really important to get this set up the same as mine. So when I'm going through a tutorial on how to edit something, when I say hit the letter S, that means it's going to add an edit. And if yours does something different, then it's going to be a little bit confusing. So we're just going to go ahead and set up our shortcuts the same so we can kind of get through tutorials a little bit quicker and easier. One of the things I like to do is I like to get all my keys to the left side of my keyboard. That way my hand can be on my mouse, moving pretty much the whole time, without actually lifting up and going to the keyboard. So my left hand is resting on the home row, ASDF, and I can get pretty much most of my very important keys with my hand still on the keyboard. So that's why a lot of these are going to be concentrated to the left side. To start off, the key I use the most would definitely be the letter S. That is the Add Edit. So to change your S to the Add Edit, you're going to either click on the S or hit S. And if you hit the S, it pops up over here. So we're going to click on the S here, and then you're going to search Add Edit, and it'll come down here. And then, it might say Control K by default. You can just X that out, and then just click next to the box there and type the letter S. That'll populate the S over here, and that one will be saved. The next, probably most important tool I use is the Ripple Delete tool. That's what I have on letter V. So again, you're just going to go to the search bar here, type in Ripple Delete, and then under Edit, you'll see Ripple Delete. Add that box, hit the letter V. Next, let's we'll just start up here and kind of work over. So we're going to go with the Q key. We're going to type in Zoom Out. That's going to zoom out our timeline once we're looking at it. Sometimes you want to see the entire timeline, and if it's like a 10-minute interview, it's going to be a pretty big shot, but if you want to get really fine detailed, you want to zoom in or out. So that's what the Zoom Out Q is letter for. Same thing, but right next to it is the Zoom In. The Zoom In takes that huge timeline from 10 minutes and really shrinks it down to maybe a 10-second clip, so you can kind of work and add your edits in the right place. Next, we're going to go to the letter E, which is go to previous endpoint on any track. This is basically going to fast forward through the entire clip to the next clip. This really speeds up. If you're kind of searching for a clip without dragging the mouse through the timeline, you're able to just kind of click through to go backwards. And then same concept on the letter R, that lets us go to the next clip. So I put the E to the left and R to the right. So you're basically going through entire clips. And we'll show you exactly what all these letters do on a real timeline shortly after this. Moving over next, we got the selection tool. Basically, that's the little mouse icon that you see now. If you're putting in, if you're adjusting audio, you might change it to the pen tool, which is, I have the letter P, but this basically gets us back to the original mouse pointer and kind of gets us out of all these different modes. So just kind of a safety thing. So again, we go to selection tool, type in selection, and once you find it, hit the letter T. Now let's go back down. We've already covered the letter S. That's our Add Edit, probably the most widely used key that I use on a daily basis. We're going to go over to D. This is step back one frame. So you're going to search step back. Step back one frame. I've got two shortcut keys here. You got the D, which is right here, because again, we're using our left hand. And also you got the arrow left. So this arrow over here. So if you're using both hands on your keyboard, you can use that arrow keys for the up, down, left, and right. And actually the up key will go to the previous next point, just like we talked about earlier. And then go to the previous point for down. So kind of some of these do have two options, which is good. But again, I try to use all my left hand to do these motions. So we're going to go to letter D, step back one frame, get that in there. So it's going to go one frame at a time, not entire clips, just one single frame. Same thing with the right side. With the letter F, it'll be a step forward. So again, hit the letter F once, it's going to go one frame to the right. I use that shortcut key a lot when I'm just trying to really fine tune exactly where I want to put the edit. Sometimes people start off a sentence a little bit too quickly, or maybe you want to end a sentence, at this right exact spot and kind of pick it up in another spot. This is when I usually fine tune those edits with the D and the F keys. Next, we're going to go down. We're going to go to letter C. We're actually going to go to Z. Z is our apply a video crossfade. So apply video not transition, crossfade. There we go. Crossfade transition. That's what kind of makes it slowly fade in from black, or maybe fade between two clips. I don't use it a lot, but I do use it on occasion. It's not usually, a lot of times I'll use it at the very, very beginning of a video or the very end to kind of fade into black in a logo or something like that. But it's good to have there. Then right next to it, since we do the fade video, we want to apply audio crossfade. I'm going to use the letter X for that. Basically same thing. If you don't want it like a hard ending point of the audio or a hard starting part with the audio, sometimes it's good to kind of fade into that, which we'll use the X key for. Moving on to the letter C. This is the tracked select forward tool. So basically what that means, it basically will highlight everything forward of that point. It's kind of confusing, hard to explain. It'll be a lot easier to see actually in the timeline, but I do use it on a good amount of the time, just so I can kind of move the entire sequence or the timeline with each other. So we'll see that in real life here in a little bit. Next, we move back to the letter V, which already covered that. That's the ripple delete key. And really, besides the space bar, the play, stop, and toggle bar, that's pretty much the main clips I'll use. I guess with the exception of, I guess we got three more. Mark in will be where we put our render point to render things out. So this will make a lot more sense when you can actually see this going on in the timeline. You can trust me, and we'll see it later. So mark in, that'll be our beginning point for our render, and then right next to that will be mark out. That'll be our end point of our render. And if you don't know what render means, render basically means taking the footage from your timeline and creating a final product with it. So again, all this will make sense once we see the next video of using all these tools in a real life situation. The next and probably final key we'll talk about is the pen tool. I'll use this tool for raising and lowering audio levels. Also use this tool for doing some masks and some fancy things, which we won't need to worry about that, but just a good idea to get that tool marked with a P. So once we have all that done, we're going to hit Files or Save As here at the top. You're going to label your keyboard shortcut maybe to your name, or whatever makes you remember that. So once you do that, just go ahead and hit OK, and this will be basically a saved keyboard layout for you. So it'll be save you a ton of time, because like many other programs, they want you to do everything with the mouse, and those aren't really precise all the time. So when you get these shortcut keys, it really creates a much quicker workflow and really speed up your process of everything else. So that should be it. With that one, our next video will be actually using a lot of the keys in a real life timeline.